Hey guys, we just got back from Pacific Rim Uprising.
Yes.
Joe's favorite film previously. If you don't know, Joe hates when I say this to tell people Joe didn't like Pacific Rim.
I didn't like it.
Why? I don't understand why.
The visuals was cool. The story was I wanted to be cheesy, but that was too much.
I loved the original Pacific Rim. I love, giant robots and freaking kaiju and robot action. These are not films. These are movies, okay? And I thought the problem with the original was that it did kind of take itself, a little seriously.
It tried to be a film.
It tried to be a film when it needed to be a movie. I'll tell you right now, Pacific Rim Uprising is a movie, and it knows it's a movie. In fact, it might go a little too far in this other direction.
Not enough for me.
Where it is, Joe, f off. It's so unfocused. It's so schizophrenic. The awkward is a good word.
Awkward.
The writing in it's so weird. It's just like a film that does whatever the it wants, and it doesn't care. Okay, I got it. It is as if this director had this, and director and the writers and the story writers had this ambition. They just want to cram everything in there. They want this and they want no spoilers. We'll talk about that in the thing, and because you've seen some of it in the trailer. But it's like, what is happening here? And then we have so many subplots and stuff, and it's a little unfocused. And I was getting really worried. I was, the first half of the film, or the first act of the film, was worrying me. But we get that first battle, man. That first battle where Gypsy Avenger is fighting in a city, sort of on a little bit of guard duty. This sort of other unknown Jaeger shows up, and there's a fight. I was like, oh man, they know how to do the action. The action is really good. And then I was like, I was on the film, so I was like, let's do this. And then the story was faltering. It dragged. The story faltered a little bit until, and I think these guys will disagree with me. I think that the reveal of what's really going on, and when it gets in the third act, I was like, all right, okay, you had me worried, but now you got me, and everything's okay, and it goes to a final fight that is super gratifying. It's exactly what I wanted. I want to see big robots fighting kaijus and robot on robot action, and it's freaking awesome.
So I was actually excited and positive.
I like that, but it has some serious flaws.
Like the first fight, I didn't love. The second fight was excellent. The robot on robot fight with the Kali Masi.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh, this is great. But what hurt is after that fight, we had this really long lull where nothing happened. And the story, they were trying to set up the story, and again, they were trying to make this a film, and they shouldn't have. It's like, no, I want them to fight more.
So, and I think all the moments that didn't work for me had to do with these kids. And it has that
ruined it for me big time.
Yeah, you didn't like them?
Honestly, I didn't really care about scenes. If the kaiju or the Jaegers weren't there, I didn't care.
I'm with you, Joe.
I didn't care.
And it's because it has this syndrome of, when Expendables, they were like, hey, here's all your, nostalgic action stars. And then by Expendables 3 or 2, I forget which one, they were like, here's all the new kids. And you're like, get the fuck out of here. I didn't come here for them.
Yeah.
And they do that here. They do that with these young kids are like freaking 12, 14. Like, no, I don't buy that Jaeger pilots are that young, number one. And they've got this Clint Eastwood looking guy. Is that Clint Eastwood's son? Okay, well, that makes perfect sense. And I was like, I don't know. I don't really buy his acting. Luckily, he's this military man, so it kind of excuses his little bit of a wooden performance. But I do love John Boyega. Boyega fucking nails it. He's every time he's on film, he's a scene stealer. He's a jokester. He has his own personality. He's definitely not his father. They try to separate him from that a lot in the film, and they do a really good job of it. Just because he's a great actor and he just electrifies the scenes when he's in it. But when he's not in it, and they try to do this oh, these are the young pilots and look at their camaraderie and I hate you. You know, you don't belong here in this unit of 12-year-olds because you're 11 and I'm 12. You know,
well, it's like they tore the pages out of Ender's Game and they're like, no, you're gonna watch this. It's like I don't want to.
Yeah, and so you don't buy any of that, and those parts of the film drag it down. Now, by the end, I do want to give a little credit to the writers that the tension is there in that final battle. Like, I started to care a little bit. You know, shit goes down, and you're like, oh, okay, they're going a little dark.
I was excited at this one point, but I'll talk about it more in spoilers.
Yeah, so
it got me going. I was like, all right, now let's turn this film around.
Yeah. But it was a little too late by then for you, I guess.
Yeah,
Oh no, Joe. All right, well, okay. So robot action, great. CGI, I thought was fantastic. I could see what was happening. I really felt all the punches. In fact, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, if you're going for the robot action, this actually has better action than the first film. And I think a lot of that is it's not at night. The first film had a lot of fight scenes at night, so it's difficult to see. This one has a lot of them during the day, and I could just see everything. It was satisfying. It had this great ground perspective, big things happening in the background. They did that a lot. In the previous Pacific Rim, they kind of kept it more Jaeger, perspective and pilot perspective. This one really shows the destruction on the ground, and you have, I'm going this way. Oh no, he's gonna fall this way, And I just love that shit, and being outside of the cockpit and all that stuff. So I thought it was great on that, but I can definitely tell that this is weak writing. And some of the characters you're not going to care about. The kids kind of ruin it. Every time, the film focuses on them, you're like, nah, They also have a sort of a new corporation that shows up. I think it's a Chinese corporation. And they play a very large factor into the story. It's something new. And it serves a vehicle to get some Jaeger on Jaeger action going, and I like that. I think it's a natural progression for the series, and that's why I was like, oh man, are we ever gonna get kaiju again? And I was about to be disappointed. I was about to be disappointed, but we do get some kaiju action, and not only do we get kaiju action, but it's really good kaiju action, and that's why I felt like the film saved its own ass in the third act. But I'll let some of these guys talk a little bit. So somebody take it over.
So basically, this film, honestly, the first couple of acts, I was flatlining. Like, all right, something happened. Oh, that's cool. Let's back to flatlining. It finally picked up for me in the third act. I liked the little plot they had. I was expecting something way better than what I got, but it was still kind of enjoyable for me.
Okay, so kind of enjoyable versus the first Pacific Rim. Did you like this better or worse than the first Pacific Rim?
I wanted this to be a little bit more outrageous. I guess it kind of was.
Kind of better? Okay.
Yeah.
Because it kind of took itself less serious, and
I hope that's what he was going for, but yeah.
He is. You could clearly tell the movie knows what it's doing. There's tons of jokes in it. It doesn't take itself too serious. There are moments where it's and that's why I say it's a little schizophrenic, because it does go back and forth between different tones, and you're like, just choose one. I think it'd be more effective if you just stick with one, but it's a little all over the place.
It was definitely all over the place. The pacing was kind of odd. There was times where I always want more robot versus dinosaur action, especially when I see this movie. That's what I want a lot of the time, especially when, and it made it harder because the story was kind of poor, so I was sitting there during those times just like, come on, just punch something, do something cool. And then I was
get that at the end, boy. That's a long action scene.
The end scene was actually, it lifted it back up to the point, like I was disappointed up until that point.
See, even they agree. That last scene, boy, it grabs its own ass, and it's like, all right.
It lifts it up. I mean, there were some problems, and we can talk about it in spoilers, where it would have been very easy to satisfy me with that scene, but they made some decisions that like in the first one did really, really well. Like my favorite part on all these things are usually like the kill shots. Like especially when you see like a big Jaeger like rip the spine out of a kaiju, you're like, yes, this is really sweet.
That's why you like that first. Well, I don't want to. Yeah, okay.
But that's like the problem that I had with like the climax of the film is you don't really get any of
Oh, I think it's satisfying enough, but I will agree. We'll talk about it in spoilers. So small little things here and there pertaining to the gratification, to the action. But I'm telling you, it's worth the price of admission alone. If you're like me, if you like giant robots, if you like Godzilla, if you like kaiju, go out and support this thing. I guarantee you it's going to fail. I guarantee you, because the first one wasn't all that big of a box office success. It wasn't a critical success either. And it just barely, I think, made enough to talk about a sequel, and they weren't going to do it for a while, and only because Guillermo del Toro really wanted it done. Now, he wasn't quite as involved here, busy with other projects, and then I think it did well in other countries, especially in maybe the Chinese region, which is probably why we see this new Chinese faction who plays a large role in the film. And it doesn't feel awkward or tacked on or cheap or anything like that. It does actually feel like a really cool evolution of the story about how they factor in. So I had no problem with it, and I thought it was really fun, dumb, mindless action where unfortunately you don't care about anybody except for John Boyega, okay? All these little kids, you don't care about them, and they throw in some female, like, commander. She's not a pilot, but she's just kind of like, hey, I'm maybe a love interest for Clint Eastwood's son, but maybe I'm a love interest for John Boyega.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm not really here. I don't really have a point. Okay, bye.
She was in the movie for maybe a minute.
There's no point
She's just
to
there for
her.
confusion.
Yeah, so a lot of drop. If they'd focused a little bit more on John Boyega's character.
should've.
Exactly. And maybe just not went with the kid idea, just stuck with adult pilots.
Or more fights. Maybe we don't do any more character development.
Just non-stop fighting.
I was okay
Like,
with that. I was like, please,
there's
just non-stop
Just
fighting.
punch something, please.
so many fights that at the end of the film, like, well, we're running out of the Jaeger's running out of batteries.
I would be like, one more, one more.
Okay, guys.
That
All
would
right,
be
so let's
amazing.
give our final verdicts, and we'll jump into the spoiler section. So we'll start with OtherJoe, since he's seen Pacific Rim. Give me a rating for the original Pacific Rim. I get to put him on the spot.
Shit, man, it's been a long ass time. Since
Yeah,
I've
so
seen
it's not going to be a good rating.
No.
But just go low if you need to.
it. Maybe like a 6.
Okay, slightly above average
Maybe.
film. Okay.
I like the first one.
Yeah,
All right, go
yeah,
do
yeah.
your thing and I'll
Yeah,
tell you
Yeah,
my
so
thing.
this one, like,
Joe just didn't like it. I don't know
Yeah.
why. He was in a real bad mood that day.
probably. So on this film, I didn't care about the characters at all. They tried to give you like a brief little backstory. Oh, this is why this person's this. It's like, I don't care. Just show me some action, blah blah blah. And by the time I actually got some action, the lady was coming with the check already. I'm like, what? It's time to leave already.
Yeah.
And I was not really satisfied till the end. Maybe a little bit. I would have taken it a different direction. I'm gonna have to give this a 5.
So you liked it less than the original.
Yeah.
Okay, well I thought at the beginning you said you liked it more than the original. Oh, but I know what it
At the
is.
end.
I know what it is. It's the action is better than the
Yeah, no,
original,
yeah,
and the
the
story of the
action was
original
better.
and how they took it a little more serious. Yeah, I got you. And that's kind of how I feel a little bit. But okay, so what's your rating for the original and the?
I don't remember. I remember liking the original better than this.
Would you say the original is
Good movie.
below average film?
No.
Average, slightly above
It's
average.
above average. I mean,
Okay,
it's
alright.
it's a mindless film,
Gotcha.
but it's got good action, and the story, especially in comparison to this one, was pretty good because the story here
It
is
was no.
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
And there were some interesting choices
All over the place.
And yeah,
Unfocused.
you liked some of the unfocused scenes. We talked a little bit about
Yeah,
the
because
awkward
I like
humor.
the brashness of just this. We're gonna do whatever the hell we want.
Yeah.
But it does even lose me when I'll give so.
I was just watching. It's like, okay, we got at a serious fight, and wait, why are you doing this? Why are we trying to be funny? Like she just got like something bad just happened. Why are we? No, stop it.
Yeah.
The fight scenes. There was one really good one that I really liked. There was a pretty good one, and then there was some forgettable ones that I've forgotten now.
Yeah.
I prefer the action of probably of the original, and we'll talk about why in the spoilers. And I
Because
think,
it has more weight to it.
no, well, I mean,
With the
I don't want to spoil anything.
Okay.
But I mean, something that we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
I think this is.
I think I know what you're
Rating.
It's
go
not
ahead.
a. It's not a.
Spinning
it's,
wheels.
It's not a 5. I think this movie is a 6. Because it's above average. It looks good. It looks really good. If you have a couple beers and you see it at matinee, go do that instead. Don't see this Friday night. Don't pay $12.
I think I disagree. You should
course.
see it. This is right up my alley, guys. Fucking giant robots, kaiju, and a little bit of robot versus robot. You know, human beings thrown into the mix here. Really great cinematography. Get a little action of seeing how damaged. By the way, these Jaegers don't give a fuck about collateral damage. In fact, they're breaking shit just to look cool on the buildings.
No, at
they're
this one
literally
scene,
probably
though.
dead motherfuckers.
And the one scene is like, oh, everybody's been evacuated. You can do whatever you want.
No,
That's what
they
he
didn't
said.
say that.
No,
Yo, he
yes,
did. He said everyone in Tokyo is underground
I was like,
in
no,
the tunnels.
they weren't.
No,
You
they
just
didn't.
showed them
running.
getting
Stomped on by
But he
monsters.
did
But they have
say
to put
that.
that stupid explanation
Yeah,
scene in
it
there.
sounds like,
Everybody died.
no.
But no, this
that's
puts
not
Superman,
right.
Man of Steel to shame, so I don't want to hear nobody fucking complain about that
But they said
Anyways,
it.
so I'm going to go 7 out of 10 because I think the action is really, really good. And you know what's difficult for me is, oh man, see, I didn't really like Charlie Hunnam's character from the original. I wish it focused more on Idris Elba and Makoto, what was her name? The Japanese pilot. And I was kind of salty about that because he kind of put together a really forgettable performance. And it's funny because this film almost completely forgets about him. I don't think he's mentioned once. They mention everybody else. I think maybe in a speech he name dropped once, if that's really his name, but I don't remember his name. That's how unforgettable he is. So, and I really love John Boyega. So whereas the original has good supporting cast and a boring lead, this one has a really good lead and a really shitty supporting cast with better action, a little less cohesive story, and this one taking a little more serious, a little better story. So, golly. 7 out of 10 with the original probably being an 8 out of 10 just because it was the first one to bring this stuff back. An 8 out of 10 and I'm big in onto this stuff. So 7 out of 10 for Pacific Rim Uprising. If you want to stick around, we'll do a spoiler section. If you haven't watched the film, please don't watch the spoiler section because this one I think is good. It gets you and it gives you the satisfying conclusion. So thank you for watching, and we will see you guys on the next Angry Joe Show. Hey, welcome to the spoiler section, where we'll ruin the film for you. So, okay, in the trailer you saw Jaegers fighting Jaegers, and how did that happen?
There was an alien brain in one of them, and they never really explained much about it, and it made no sense, and it was pretty cool.
It was a plot line from the first film where these two scientist guys, that's one thing we didn't talk about at all in the review. They played a large factor in the film. You know, the two scientist guys.
They were kind of forgettable from the first movie, and then they were everything in this movie.
And they really held it up. So when I said all the other cast sucks, I should have remembered to include Charlie Day, who did a good job, and the scientist guy who did a good job. But all right, anyways. So because he's made contact with this alien brain, apparently he took it home and he has sex with it or something. I don't know. They fuse and he goes into this bedroom and he has orgasms with it. It's disgusting. And so that was the first hint, but you weren't really sure what was going on there. Mm-hmm. They positioned the Chinese company to be like the fucking bad guys.
Yes.
They come in with these drones and they're like, screw these neural links between the pilots. We'll just use one pilot remotely and we'll send all of our drones across the world. And you're like, I don't know about that. But it turns out they're actually, the female in charge of that, this younger Chinese lady, she's a good guy. And she, her life's work was put into this company, and she realizes it's Charlie Day that betrays her because he's having sex with the fucking monsters.
And somehow they don't explain that he's cloning the monsters and installing them as brains in the...
Yeah.
But in the Jaegers, for no reason, we didn't get any explanation. It's fine because I didn't want one.
He wants to destroy the world.
Well, I know why, but then we got led to this secret lair, but it didn't matter because he's already in charge of the automated Jaeger factory. And again, Don't focus on the story. The action was good because it set up my favorite fight scene.
Yeah,
the Jaeger fight scene in the ice was incredible.
Good.
It was definitely the best.
That's where he's talking Kali Ma, because they go at it and he just rips the freaking power core out of the Jaeger. And this Jaeger had a really nice badass scene before where you thought, okay, he's a good fighter. He's just as good as Gypsy Avenger, perhaps even better. And they use a specific move to to outsmart him. So the action in this and the fights are fantastic. Though we never really learn who piloted that. I'll just say it's Charlie Day.
No, it's a brain. Remember, they opened it up and it's an alien brain pulsing. That's what I said. They never explained anything about it. It's the only time in the movie where there's like an alien brain pulsing inside. And we don't
you thought maybe it'd be these white pilots, from the drones, but those guys don't play a factor.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was actually aliens controlling that, alien brains. Okay, and so we go across the world. We go back to Japan, and the Charlie Day is opening portals back to the world where these kaijus come from. He's opening up a new rift, and a few get out. They manage to shut everything down. They get help from the Chinese corporation to shut it all down. But 3 made it out. And so then, of course, they were attacked at their base. So a lot of Jaegers are out of commission. A lot of pilots are dead. And they have to rely on the kids. And I'm like, oh, God damn it.
Yeah, as soon as it happened, I was like,
God damn it.
Well, we don't see any progression from the kids, too. So every time we see the kids, they're horrible, and they fail all the simulations.
Oh.
And so there was because we saw a bunch of scenes with them. If we see them progressively getting better, maybe I'd be excited about it. But they're like, you suck.
I probably would have liked the film less if they concentrated on the kids, just because I didn't like the kids at all. I mean, but I liked them even less here because they were one note. You have this Russian girl who's like 16, and she sees this younger 13-year-old coming, and she's, I don't like you. You shouldn't be here.
She's mad.
It's like, dude, this.
Yeah, she's mad because she failed like 3 times, and then she finally got in, and they just let this nobody in.
And then John Boyega's kind of mad at his dad. Why? His dad saved, because his dad saved the fucking world.
He was so angsty in the beginning, like really mad.
But they kind of dropped that, and I'm glad they dropped it because they didn't really make him look that stupid. Because I was worried they were gonna make him be that stupid, but he's not. So he actually redeems his role and becomes a character within himself. And within the Pacific Rim universe now, I'm glad John Boyega's at the head of it. They really do sequel bait. They try to get a third one. They say, they capture Charlie Day at the end, put him in prison, and say, if we have a third movie, we're coming for you. Basically is what they say. We're coming to your world next. But I don't think they're getting a third one because usually these, unfortunately, in my world, they would get a third one. But there are very few people out there like me. So I think it'll make progressively less money, and we won't see a third. But I'd like to see a third.
They could. I mean,
direct to video.
There's a lot of things they could do
anime.
to correct the problems that this film had. If someone comes in and just says, "Look, people do not like our characters and our story and our writing, so let's just have someone else with talent do it, and then we'll have more dinosaur fights."
Except keep John Boyega.
Yeah, he did great. Look, he had some awful lines. Everyone had pretty bad lines. Like the writing was kind of poor, but he was more convincing at it, and I guess he was more believable.
They killed the Indian kid, the pilot. There's this skinny nerdy guy, and
he kept saying boobs, like my dad works on boobs,
and it's like stuff like that. That the writing is like, oh God, man, really. And so he dies, and he's like the funny character, and he dies, and nobody really well, no, he's not, because those didn't make me laugh. Yeah, they were like boobs, and the audience was like,
"These kaiju aren't bad."
Oh yeah, they did flip off the monster. It was sweet.
These fucking kids. These kids. How do I reach these kids?
He literally said that. John Boyega goes like, "Oh my God, these teenagers," because he's like, "Don't go charge that big monster by yourself."
And I'm like,
then one of them dies, and he's like, "These teenagers."
And I'm like, I'm with you, John. I don't know why the writers forced these teenagers in here. Anyways.
Honestly, I wanted it to kind of speed up. I wanted Charlie's character to sabotage everything kind of from the get-go.
Way sooner,
And the breach opens, more kaiju come out.
Smaller kaiju.
Then, smaller kaiju, and then at the very end, the biggest kaiju
the big one comes
you've
out.
ever seen.
So they have Category 4, Category 5s. And this one has one where 3 kaiju combine into one. Charlie does this unique thing. He's like, robots. This is boring. I'm going to do something new. And he brings out all all these like little tiny creatures, and I was like, oh shit, how the fuck are they gonna fight these?
Yeah.
They can't. You know,
and they don't.
But then they don't. They form one big target.
Mega chicken.
But I'm glad they formed one big target, so I would have been satisfied either way. But I loved the fact that these Jaegers look like freaking toys to this thing.
More
and they were not, I know, because it was so gratifying seeing the Jaegers just go up against this thing that they have absolutely no hope to beat. And I thought that that's what really made that third act really impressive. Because really pilots started to die. That kid dies in the only one of them. I wanted more of them to get taken out. But yeah. But that would have, the movie would have turned real dark, but it would have been super sad. Yeah, that's okay.
Only 2 bad guys got killed by the good guys in this film.
2 bad guys.
The evil Jaeger.
Yeah.
So that got taken out. One of the drone Jaegers gets taken out, like purposely. Like one of the disabled guys knocks its head off for some reason, and then
they know who to keep around. They're like, okay, Charlie Day and John Boyega. Let's not kill them.
No kaiju like you see die in this film. That's one of the problems I had with this movie. Is at no point do you ever see
the combined kaiju die.
You don't see it.
Yeah, you do. He slams into it. Yeah, the camera, like, you don't see it because it's a shockwave, and we would have really enjoyed it if you got full glory, the shot of, because what he does is none of the weapons can penetrate his armor, so they literally take off with a rocket fused to his hand, where the what is it, Show Corporation, the lady takes over the little girl's scrappy Jaeger, which they do this, and that's why the beginning of this film seems like a direct-to-video sequel with its storyline. It's like, okay, now the first film was so legendary, and now the world is filled with Jaeger part. No, it's not. Jaegers are so rare and unique. You know, oh no, there's trash everywhere, and people scavenge them and create their own Jaegers. And this 12-year-old girl
she made it.
She made one, and not only did she make one, but she can fucking pilot it better than fully trained Jaeger pilots by herself, which no Jaeger pilot can do. It's just crazy as shit.
The story is bad.
You see what that's what we were trying to tell you about this bad story.
But no kaijus die. I want to see a kaiju die.
But they kind of say, okay, fuck all that. Let's get back to the. They set up all this like little lore and world, and they were like, no, Jaeger versus Jaeger. Oh shit, what is this Jaeger versus Jaeger? They kill off Makoto though. That I hated that. I was like, is that even? Because she doesn't have her purple tips, and I was like, is that her from the original film? I was asking. I was like, yeah, that's her. She looks a little older. I guess the film had
10 years. It was supposed to be 10 years later.
10 years later, so they probably did that on purpose. And she's no longer a Jaeger pilot. I was like, no.
She's secretary of the UN, right?
Yeah, but still,
they had to give him motivation.
They had to give him motivation. You knew it was going to happen, and it's sad. He barely almost rescues her and falls down, and John Boyega sells it. So she's dead. Charlie Hunnam, who knows where he is? He fucking fell off a cliff and died on impact. I don't know. But so all over the place, but gratifying, and honestly, you know, I backed this board game, and I can't wait to get it and play. And I like the universe. I really do. Do I want to see a third film? Yes. I know it's not going to happen, though.
Maybe if they go over the top, like I said, they go underneath, fight nothing but fucking kaiju.
Maybe the third film is where Joe goes, yes.
Yeah.
He like nothing.
Fuck
like
it. We're coming through.
I think they know they're not getting a third film. That's why they said, next time we're going to your planet and we're gonna take the fight to you. And that's the film Joe wants to see, where there's literally one Jaeger beating up 50 kaiju.
Yes.
Well, they gotta make up for like no kaiju.
Tell me that sounds amazing.
It does sound amazing, Joe. No talking, no nothing.
No.
Just him going there.
This is all you need to talk
and beating everybody.
This is how you talk.
All right. That's the dialogue of the film. So, all right, guys. So we'll end there. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next Angry Joe Show. Bye, guys.